Please be advised that we are speaking in our own individual capacities and not representing any companies we may work for. We are not your lawyers, and any information given during this podcast does not constitute as legal advice and is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Enjoy the episode.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to Girls Gone Legal. I can't believe this is another episode and it's December. We started this in September, which was crazy. And as you can see, Katie is not here today. She's currently studying for finals. So she took a seat on this one, but we know she's cheering us on from the bench. So today we actually have a very important and exciting guest, Heather Reese. I'm going to give you guys a quick bio on her and then we're just going to get right on into it. So Heather Reese is a personal injury lawyer based in City Center, Philadelphia. She drove here from Philly, which was so exciting and so special that we have her today. She's passionate about fighting for justice. Her journey into law began with an internship at the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, where she learned the complexities of the legal system and developed her skills in advocating for victims. Today, she utilizes that experience to stand up for clients facing personal injuries, ensuring their stories are heard and justice is served. Proudly Latina and adopted from Peru, Heather's background has always been an important part of her identity. It drives her commitment to increasing visibility for Latinas in all fields. Through her work and platform, she aims to inspire young women to pursue their dreams, embrace their identities, and break down barriers just as she has done. Outside of the courtroom, Heather is also a model and activist. She believes in the power of representation and is dedicated to using her voice to create space for others, particularly within the legal profession and beyond. Her life is a blend of legal advocacy, runaway appearances, and community activism, each aspect fueling her drive to make a meaningful impact in the world. Whether she is in the courtroom, on the runway, or speaking out for causes she cares about, Heather is committed to living with strength and pride. Her mission is to inspire others to pursue their passions and never shy away from the fight for justice and equality. Well, welcome, Heather. We are so
Thank
excited to
you.
have you. That was just an amazing bio. It honestly
Thank
inspired
you.
me just reading it.
Thank you so much. Somebody who wrote it was really nice. That pretty much covers everything about my life, though. So,
Is there anything else you want to add or tell us?
no, I feel like that pretty much sums everything up. You know, I'm a personal injury attorney in Philadelphia.
Uh-huh.
I do modeling. I do activism work. I also do content creating, but being a lawyer is definitely my passion, and it's been an amazing privilege to be able to do it in the city of Philadelphia as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we were just talking about you've been an attorney for 5 years now or over 4
Four.
years. Okay, where
5
did you
next
go to
year.
law school?
I went to Delaware Law School.
Okay, very exciting. I actually looked at Delaware when I was applying, but being from North Jersey, I was closer to New York City, and like that's where I really wanted to be, was in the city. So
Yeah, no, and I love New York. Honestly, I only went there because I went to UD, and I'm like a Delaware girl through and through. So it just made sense to go to school there.
Yeah, that's really nice. And you're working now as a personal injury attorney. How do you
Yeah,
love that?
I do love it. Honestly, I think that working in the DA's first really made me have a love and passion for helping people. I was working with victims of domestic violence when I was at the DA's. I was doing contempt for PFA court, and it really showed me, just how the justice system works, how it isn't working, and honestly, just like what we can do to help victims. I knew I couldn't go into the nonprofit route
Uh-huh.
just because of, finances. Law school is expensive, as I'm sure you know.
Yes.
And it's just the money isn't there. And a lot of the times working for the state or in nonprofits. So I knew I needed to go to, the private sector. And
Yeah.
personal injury just seemed like a good, ease way in because I'm also working with victims.
Yeah, and that's so, so important. And you definitely have to have a strong mind for that because seeing what people go through every day is just like sometimes you believe you're living in like a bubble. You're like, what is this? I want to help these people. And that's why so many of us go to law school because we see all these people going through these things every day. And it's like you just want to help them. So no, that's really amazing of you. And I know we talked about when I read your bio about your mission. And in your mission, the importance of pursuing one's passions. So how did you discover your own passion and how has it shaped your career?
I think for me, like, I just knew I always wanted to help people. I knew that I wanted to do something that gave like a voice to the underdogs. I've always kind of felt like, I'm an underdog in a lot of different situations. You know, I was plus size and I still am, and then I'm a minority woman.
You
So
look great.
thank you
You
so
look
much. Thank you so
amazing.
much. I've been doing a lot of fitness, so it's been a great health journey for me. But it has for me. It always felt like I wanted to find a way to advocate for people that couldn't always advocate for themselves, and I also wanted to do it in a way where I wasn't quiet or shy because that's never been my personality. I'm not quiet and
Yeah.
I'm not shy. And I felt like my passion to want to be a voice for the underdog and just a voice as a whole kind of made me go into law, made me go into the advocacy work. It really made me go into the content creation because it really all started from me, my life completely changing. I went through a divorce and I said, I need to find a way to like redefine myself. And when I did, I said, I'm just going to do it on the internet, and people seemed to like it and they tuned in
Yeah.
and it's been a great journey so far.
Yeah, and I do feel, and I've gone through a couple of rough times where I'm just like, you know what? I need to redefine myself. I need to stay on track and focus on me, like who I am. So I really take that to heart because, sometimes you have to go through those bad times to be like, all right, this is, to go from here to up here. So you just have to keep pushing.
Absolutely, always. I
Yeah.
think that those really terrible moments in life can sometimes create the most beautiful moments for you. Like
Yeah.
I think so many amazing things have came out of my life changing, um, I'm so grateful for it. All those terrible moments of me, crying. I'm sure it's on my TikTok. If you go back really far to divorce talk, really really made me to be the person that I am today, and they've given me all the opportunities that I have now. So I'm super grateful for them, and I always tell people there's absolutely light on the end of the tunnel. This is just such a small moment of time. And once you get past that little blurb, you really look back and you're like, wow, I can't believe I ever thought that was going to break me.
Yeah, no, I agree. And my friend actually sent me something the other day. It was like, you're going to get through this time. You got through it before. You're going to get through it again. And you just have to keep pushing. And that's really inspiring. And I also do think that a lot of people are going through things and might feel like they're the only one, or, everyone's situation is different. But for you to have a voice and to get on the internet and to make those TikToks and to show people like, this is what I'm going through, and like to be open about it probably is so like motivating for people that are more maybe on the quieter side and don't put themselves out there because they're like, oh, I'm not the only one that has like a similar situation, and they can relate to you. And that's what is so special about, content creation, because it's relatable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I think the social media aspect, I always say this to my friends. I'm like, somebody else in the world is going through what you're going through. Like there
mhm.
is somebody. It might feel like you might have the most niche or nuanced issue, but somebody else in this universe, in this world is going through it. And that's what I love about social media is connecting with me so many amazing women and so many amazing attorneys, amazing people, amazing businesses that it's really been, it really does, even though there is some negatives to it, which I'm sure we'll get into, there are so many positives that outweigh it because you really never feel alone. And you really have
Yeah.
people who are fighting for you and writing for you. And some of my biggest, support people are people that have never met me. They're just people that met me online and they never
Yeah.
met me in real life. And then when we do meet each other, they're like, I know everything about you. I feel like I've known your whole story. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, you've watched me from like day one of me starting to make content to where I'm at now. So
Yeah, yeah, that's really important. Also, something I love is, the algorithm, in the For You page. Like, I'll be talking about something out loud, and then all of a sudden, it's on my
yeah, it
my
knows.
TikTok, and I'm like, I'm like, who's watching right now? That's so crazy. So, creating your content is probably coming up on people that need to see it the most, which is really important. So,
Yeah,
keep
absolutely.
doing that, keep killing it. To go back to your legal career, what are some of the most fulfilling moments in your legal career that made you feel like your passion for justice is truly making a difference, especially online?
Yeah. So I feel like I've got to advocate for some really injured people, and it's been a journey. I think there have been so many moments. I can't really even pinpoint one. Maybe the first arbitration I ever did. I remember being so nervous about it and being like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this. I don't know if I can do this. I don't. I had gone in spaces where I had spoken before, but I got barred during like right before the pandemic. So the firm that I had went into in the city, is usually known for giving people a lot of trial experience, like new attorneys. But because I came in when most things were being done virtually, I didn't experience that. So when I first got to do an arbitration, I remember being like, everybody is a million miles ahead of me, people my age, and then anybody else who was an attorney before the pandemic knew what it was like to go into these courtrooms, knew what it was like to do all these things. And I was kind of like, oh, I'm really nervous. And I remember I had been given an offer before the arbitration, and my boss at the time was like, I know you can do better, Heather. Like, I know you should just do the arb. And I remember being like, I don't know, like, I'm really nervous. And if I blow it, then like the offer could be off the table. And, if we don't get awarded what we were given in the offer in the arbitration, it could just be, it could be a whole mess. And I ended up getting significantly more at the arbitration. And I remember telling the story of what had occurred and making it personal for the arbitrators and for me. The person at the time, was walking a dog when they were injured, and I have a dog, and I'm a huge advocate for animals and dogs as a whole.
I love dogs. I
Right.
have 2 golden retrievers. I love them.
They're everything. I have a Chihuahua, and he is bad as hell, but I love him. But yeah, no. So I remember that was the big thing for me, making things personal and being able to relate. Every review I get back from a client, every client that texts me, my mentor was really big into always being accessible as an attorney. So my clients have both of my numbers, usually my personal and my work number, and I really do make myself completely available. So I would say the biggest accomplishments for me have been people saying, Heather, you're always reachable. And Heather, we're so grateful for the result that you gave us. And also like in my bosses saying like, giving me a specific number that I have to get, and then me getting more than that, and then being like, wow, you are good at what you do. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, I mean, I know. I am good at getting more money. So
Uh-huh. No, that I feel like that goes off. And just always have to believe in yourself. Even when you're like doubting yourself and you're thinking, I can't do this, you just have to go in there. I kind of live by this, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree, but fake it till you make it. Like a lot of things, you might not be expecting or prepared. I mean, obviously you have to be prepared in law, but you know what I mean? You've never been in a courtroom before. So it's intimidating, but you just have to fake it till you make it. Act like you have been there before, even though you've
Right.
never been, and you never know what the outcome's going to be, and you never know something until you try and you do it.
yeah, I
So,
know a lot of attorneys that do the fake it till you make it. I will do the fake it till I make it in regards to some things. I think there's a very distinct line that has to be drawn when you do the fake it till you make it, because I think there is a thing that a lot of attorneys do where they're like, I know this, I got this, I can handle this. I am terrified of committing malpractice. So when I don't know something, I absolutely say I don't know it, right? Like
yeah.
I am the type that I'm like, no, guys, I've never done this before. I don't know this thing. I don't know what's happening, because I never want. And I think that's a lot of people don't love that. Like a lot of people do love the attorney that's like, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna go full blast, I'm gonna act like I've done this 1,000 times. I have confidence, but I also know when I have to say, hey, I don't know this. And I think that's a big thing to learn that I didn't learn
100%.
in law school, that I had to learn in just looking back at myself and me being me, saying, I don't ever want people to think that I am gonna tell them I know information I don't know, because that's a really tiptoey line that a lot of attorneys do, and I see it all the time, and I'm always like, no, guys, that's you, that's not me, because if I don't know something, I don't know it. I want somebody to explain it to me and tell me what to do, because there's such an easy way to mess up in the
Yeah.
legal field.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. And I feel like in law school, I was very open about stuff. People would be like, "Oh, I know this, and I have no idea what you're talking about." That's what I would say.
Right.
I have actually no idea what you're talking about. Or everyone would be like, "Oh, I got an A on this, or I got a B on this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't do great on that one, but you know what? Next time I'm gonna keep pushing." And I did really good on my finals. Like I was very open with what I was doing and what I was not doing. So I
And
definitely,
I love that. I think that's
yeah,
great. Like I feel like so many people in law school pretend to be the smartest person in law school. Like I never pretended to be the smartest person in law school. I was
yeah.
like, I don't really know how I'm here. I don't really know how I got here, but we're here and we're gonna make, the best of it. But it was never really like I love that. I think that the honesty about it is what makes you a good advocate,
Yeah.
right? Because people can see it. That's the same thing with the internet. People want authenticity. They want genuineness. They want to see who you really are. And when you're the kind of person that just looks perfect all the time, and people think that you know everything, it's hard for them to see themselves. You're not the everyday girl. You're not the person next door. People
Yeah.
warm up to the person next door because they feel comfortable with them, because they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I see that this person is going to be honest if they don't know something. And then they're going to reach
Mhm.
out to somebody who does know something, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that 100%. I was gonna say something else, and now I'm losing my train of thought. Um, I'll come back to it. If I remember, I'll come back to it. But anyway, so to go a little bit outside the courtroom, you're also a model and an activist. So my question to you is, how would you suggest young girls pursue their dreams of wanting to be a lawyer, along with maybe being a model or an influencer?
So I think like just do it, right? Like for me, it all started on Threads. I have to thank Threads. They're a huge shout out to them for honestly being an amazing platform and such a new platform. I got my first modeling gig. It was this year. I had saw a woman, Crusades of Curves, put out a post saying, "Hey, we're looking for a model in Philadelphia." I commented and I said, "Hey, I'm not a formal model, but I'd love to be considered for the opportunity." And she was like, "Send me a runway, a video of you walking." And I
Uh-huh.
asked my assistant Lauren, who's here right now, but she's not going to show on camera. I said to her, I said, "Hey, I need you to take a video of me walking down the hallway in the office right now." And she was like, "What?" Like, and I was like, "No, no, no, just do it." And I remember it was like super early in the morning when we were there, and I sent her the video the second that Lauren had taken it, and she was like, "All right, great, will use you." And I remember being like,
Uh-huh.
"That's such a crazy thing that she was like, of course." And I walked my first runway
Yeah.
in September, and then I have done a few content shoots for people after that.
This September?
Yeah,
Oh my God, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so
Congratulations.
much. It was crazy. It's been a whirlwind. I've had so many amazing opportunities since then.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no. So what I would say to people about wanting to be a lawyer is that so many people think lawyers have to be this certain image. I've never been that image. That's not who I am. I've always kind of marched the beat of my own drum and did my own thing. And I think that's the reason a lot of my clients have liked me and wanted to work with me because they're like, "Oh no, she's not like stuck up. She isn't like, she's who she is online as she is when I talk to a person." And what I would say is authenticity gets you everything. It can get you so much. Just be genuine. Don't be fake because all the people that have wanted to work with me have wanted to work with
Yeah.
me because I've been very transparent about where I am in a journey with something or who I am as a person or what experience I have. Like I had said to, Mallory, who runs Crusades of Curves, like, "I've never walked before. I've never done anything traditional. Are
Yeah.
you okay with this?" And she was like, "Yeah, we love to create models that way." The content stuff, anytime I get asked, I reach out to say, "Hey, I'd love to be a part of a content shoot for this company." I always say like, "Hey, I'm not I wasn't a formal model. I am now, but I wasn't then.
Yeah.
So like, are you okay with this?" And they're like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever works for you." And the content creation for me as a whole, like I did it based off of a passion. So when I really started to create more content, I started to do it because I wanted to showcase Latino, Latina, and Latinx businesses.
Uh-huh.
And I said, what can I do to help my own community? Because in the legal community, Latino lawyers make up 2.5% of lawyers. And I said, that's simply not enough. And then I said, that's got to be the case in other fields too. And I saw that we were underrepresented in almost every field. And I said, what can I do as just me, a random girl, to change that? And I said, well, I'm going to start showcasing Latino owned businesses. And I made a thread
Yeah.
and I thought like 4 people would reach out. 100 people I think have reached out. I've partnered with over 50 different companies now. I've filmed like 31 episodes
Wow.
and it's been an amazing thing. And I think if you find a passion, just go for it and your career will either evolve or you'll find out that that's not the path that you should be taking. My
Yeah.
job has been really great about my me being a content creator. I told them ahead of time when I first came in, and I think always disclose. That's my big thing. I always tell people, always disclose. When I came in, I said, "Hey, I want to go on social media. I want to make this a portion. Are you guys okay with this?" And my job was like, "Yeah." Like, I mean, they didn't really understand it, but they were like, "Yeah, we don't care. Just don't write anything crazy. Like,
Yeah.
don't do anything crazy that will embarrass the firm." And I was like, "No, no, no, of course not. I would never
Yeah.
do that." And, it's grown over time. And I think that they've seen it. And like now it takes on a different life of its own. But initially, just have disclosure, always be honest about things. And I think, that's, my best advice to young girls. If you want to go into it, go into it. Don't think that
Yeah.
being a lawyer is going to hold you back from doing these other amazing things because it's just one portion. I always tell Lauren this when we go to events because we go to events all the time together. Whenever we introduce people and I talk to people, I always say, being a lawyer is the least interesting part of me. Like
I
it's
love
a it's
that.
it's a very cool thing that I do. It's my job. It's what pays the bills.
Yeah.
But there's so many other facets, and if you don't find stuff to fill your cup outside of your job, then you're gonna drown.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think it's very intriguing that like somebody can be a lawyer, they can be a model. It's very fun. It's very, you're a content creator. You can be all these things. The stereotypes are if you're a lawyer, you're a lawyer. But no, why do you have to stop there? Why can't you continue and be other things that you also want to be? So I think that's really important. I actually hear all the time. I get a lot of like messages and stuff like, oh, like you just graduated law school, or you're doing this, like you're doing that, but you also have a podcast, but you also, like all over the place, but you're at dinner on a Thursday night or Tuesday night. And I'm like, yeah, I like to go to dinner. Like,
Right.
like you can do all the things you want to do and that make you happy. And I love that you're using it to have a voice. And I think that's so important. And that's a reason why me and Katie had started this podcast was because we just wanted, to learn and to have a voice and to show other people they're not the only ones going through this. When I was in law school, I was the president of the Media, Entertainment, and Fashion Law Association. And we would always put on like events, panels, that was the word I was thinking of, panels with attorneys that would come in and speak. And I would learn so much from them because, they could come in and, they have their experience and they have their voice and they can tell us what they've been through. And I've learned so much from it. Like, wow, like, this is what I'm passionate about and this is what I want to keep learning. And when I graduated law school, I was like, why do I have to stop? And that's why we were like, let's start a podcast. So I think that's really amazing of you to just, put yourself out there, be passionate. I think the theme of today should be passion because it's just such an important thing. I mean, even from the first time we started talking, I think we were DMing on Instagram,
Yeah.
and then we were emailing, we were texting. And I just could tell right away. I was like, she is so passionate. And I love that. I love the motivation and like seeing that, and you're 4 years ahead of me, 5 years ahead of me. I just graduated law school. So I see that and I'm like, wow, like I want to be like that and I want to continue. And that drives my passion. So it really helps motivate others. It really does.
That's awesome. And honestly, it's so impressive that you have a podcast. I think that's so cool.
Thank
And
you.
like, graduating law school is a feat in of itself, right? Like
Yeah.
people don't always talk about it, but like God, it is 3 years of trauma. Like it is 3 years of trauma. That's why the friends that you make
Yeah.
there are friendships that feel like they're at a scale of 1,000 because you trauma bond, right? Like
yeah.
you're all dealing with the same situation of people basically telling you that you're not smart enough, that like the people next to you aren't going to be there anymore. You're trapped into these areas where you're like, I have to learn all this information and everything matters at the end of the year, right? Like, yeah, you're fine. Everything, your midterms, if you have them, some schools don't even have them. You just have finals and you're like, all right, everything is based off of this singular day that I've worked so hard for, a lot like the bar exam, right? Like
yeah.
you're like, this is my Olympics of my life, right? I have gone through all of college, all of high school, all of law school to have this singular moment tested in a 2-day exam
Yeah, it's crazy.
and tell me like basically if I'm worthy of doing something. And I mean, getting through that is an amazing feat. And I always applaud people. And even if you don't, like I always tell people, I didn't pass the bar exam on the first time. And I'm like, listen, it's a wrecker. Like it wrecks you emotionally, mentally, everything. But like some of the best attorneys I know have failed the bar exam the first time they took it, even maybe failed it twice. That does not define the kind of attorney that you're going to be by any means. So, I mean, just getting through law school
Yeah.
and taking the bar is a amazing feat as of itself.
Yeah, no, I really love that. And I always stand by this. And, some people may disagree with me, but I don't think one test determines how hardworking you're going to be and how motivated you're going to be. And I think, like you said, some of the most amazing attorneys don't pass the first, second time. And you just have to keep pushing and just have to, it kills your confidence not passing, but then you just got to keep pushing and it shows you, wow, like I can do this, I can like get kicked down, I just get up and I keep going. And that does not define like how your career will
Absolutely.
be 100%.
Yeah, no, I remember I listened to "I'll Make a Man Out of You" on the Mulan soundtrack about 15,000 times, when I was studying for the bar exam. And then I also watched the Carrie Shrug Olympic video. She hates when I tell the story. The Carrie Shrug Olympic video of her vaulting, and she like broke her ankle, and it's like this huge thing. And I'm like, all right, this is my Carrie Shrug moment. I need to make this vault. Like, I am injured, things are horrible,
Yeah.
but we are going to do it. So yeah, I mean, the bar exam, I mean, I say abolish the bar exam, but that's just me.
Yeah. I actually was telling an attorney this recently. I was saying, we were talking about like, oh, do I want to go into litigation or do I want to do, transactional? And I was like, honestly, I don't really know. I'm still just trying to figure it out. I always thought I wanted to do transactional. I'm still kind of on that fence. But the more, I get into litigation and I see how it is, I'm like, wow, this could actually be really interesting. And I, to go off the pole vault, I played soccer growing up, and I actually talked about this last episode that I played soccer growing up. And I always try to think of it, and if you were an athlete in high school or college and you're in law school now, or whatever school, grad school or professional school you may be in, I think of the studying as this is your practice. And then the test, that's your game. So the bar exam is your game. You would not go into a game, a soccer game, a baseball game, a hockey game, a football game without practicing, So
Right.
I just think about it like that. And, it can relate to like other parts of your life that way. So I think that's really important. Something I wanted to actually go back on when you
Mhm.
were talking about being very honest and genuine, because, as a lawyer in the legal career, that's really important. But also, content creation, you said people love that. And I remembered my thought
Okay.
that I forgot before. So that's why I want to backtrack really quick. I wanted to go back to stereotypes
Okay.
about lawyers. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, like when I was younger, I loved to argue a lot. So everyone was like, just go to law school, just go to law school. And this is
Right.
going back to, people that feel that they're always right. And, there's some attorneys that are always going to feel that they're always right.
Yeah.
But I believe, and, I'm still like fresh out of law school, and I guess I'll get my fair share of experience. I believe the best attorneys are the ones that can see, you got to see both sides. I've had a lot of people in my life where like and not attorneys, just people, like just, doing everyday life, and they think they are right and they will stand by that. And so, and sometimes you could be right, like really right, but it's so important to put yourself in the other shoes. So I just think that's a huge stereotype. Like, oh, I love to argue, so I should just go to law school. Like, you want to be passionate about it and you have to, be good at arguing, but arguing what? Like, you want to make sure you know what the other side is about to hit you with.
Yeah, absolutely.
know?
You have to have a skill. I mean, it's a real, like, don't get me wrong, there is charisma, that's a huge part of it, and there is
Yeah.
a natural ability to communicate and talk to people that is a part of it, depending if you're speaking to a jury or a group of arbitrators. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I think more than being able to argue, being able to read people is the most powerful tool, right? Like, I was told once when I was first out of law school and first an attorney that I was all frosting and no cupcake. And I remember I thought it was going to break me. I was like,
No.
wow. And I remember being like, you know what? I'm going to be the best effing frosting that there
Yeah.
is then. And I have said to myself since that moment that what I'm going to do and how I'm going to be an attorney is I'm going to utilize the things that I'm good at. And I might not be the best person who is going to argue at somebody, but I'm real nice. And I'm real nice, and I remember details, and I'll remember, when your wife's birthday is, or when your kids' birthdays are, or any of the other million things that matter to tons of the people that you communicate with, right? And you deal with it when you deal with adjusters, when you do the kind of area that I work in. You deal with it when you're dealing with opposing counsels. I mean, there's just so many things. You don't have to be, there's not one way to be a lawyer. Like, honesty is the main thing that you have to have. But other than that, you being just good at arguing isn't a guaranteed recipe to being a good
Yeah,
lawyer.
I agree.
Because you have to be able to read people. To me,
Mhm.
that's the biggest superpower. Because
Yeah.
how is my argument going to affect this group of juries, right? How is my argument going to affect these three arbitrators? When I look at them, what do I see about them? Do I notice their shirt? What kind of shirt are they wearing? What kind of shoes are they wearing? What color? Do they have a wedding ring on? What is their background of their phone? Like, there's a million things that I look at
Yeah.
that I observe on people to kind of decide how I'm going to approach them and how I'm going to approach an argument to best suit my client. So I mean, I think that is a real big misconception that just if you're good at arguing that you're going to make a phenomenal lawyer, because I've met a million people that are good at arguing and they'd be terrible lawyers. So
Yeah, no, I really love that advice. Listeners, take that to heart right now because that just stuck with me. Um, all right, let's see. What else do we have? All right, let's talk about your experience. All right, so as you know, Katie and I, or I don't know if you know this, but we've talked about it in past episodes. Started out as Katie's mentor, and she was my mentee in Media Entertainment and Fashion Law Association. And then we just became like super good friends, and then we just like help each other out. We were even saying with this podcast, we have our strengths and our weaknesses. She's used to being behind a camera. I'm not. I'm good at managing things. Like
Right.
so. Mentor mentee. Those are important relationships. You give and you take, and you help each other out, and you give each other good advice. So my question is, what role does mentorship play in empowering others to pursue their, again, passions, especially in the context of justice and equality?
I think mentorship is huge. And I think that's the other reason I went into going more into content creation, because the mentorship isn't available to the very available to the underrepresented groups of people that are in law school. And for me, I'm very lucky. I'm an adopted Peruvian, and I was adopted by Jewish, you know, well-off people, semi well-off people, and they made sure that I was in the right room all of the time. They made sure that I knew the right people all of the time. And my best friend's dad, when I was growing up, was a lawyer. And he brought me to my first arbitration when I was 14. He introduced me to the right people. He helped me get a job out of law school. And I wasn't top at my school by any means. And I wasn't top in college, but mentorship and networking are the most important thing of being a lawyer and getting, access to that, because gatekeeping is so big and it's so huge. And if you don't have a good mentor or you don't have a good sense of networking, it's just so easy to fall into the bottom barrel.
Yeah.
And even if you are top of your class, even if you did graduate, on, the journal or, I can't think of the other one. There's like the journal and then there's review, right? Law
Yeah.
review. I mean, those all have networking built into them. But if you're just a, average student who's, showing up every day, you better make sure that you find a way to get a good mentor or get networking, because that can really open doors for you. And I think mentorship is huge, so huge. I have everything in my life I have to thank because of the people that have been around me.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the other reason I went into the creation. I said, what can I do to mentor people? What can I do to use all of the amazing privileges that I've been given in life to give to other people? Like, how can I change it for them? And I said, well, stop gatekeeping, right? Like, do what we can to get everyone else in the room. I believe in collaboration over competition every day. And that's a huge, taboo thing in the legal industry, right? Because I'm supposed to be competitive with every lawyer out there. I'm not. If you watch my socials,
Yeah.
there's tons of videos and pictures of me with other lawyers. I wear other lawyers' merch all of the time. I was just
love that.
talking, to my assistant about that. When lawyers have merch and I'm like, oh, I like that. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll send you one. I'm like, oh, I'll wear it. Even if we do the exact same type of law, it's never going to be a thing for me to be like, that's a problem for me, right? There's enough to feed all of us. There's enough to go around that for me, I'd rather build a big community through mentoring, through, any of the other ways, networking, than have this notion where I have to be, competitive with everyone. So I think mentoring is huge. Like you said, I mean, I think it's a great that you made this amazing thing out of, just being her mentor at the beginning.
I know. And when we first became mentor mentee, I would have never thought like we would have a podcast and be sitting here doing this with each other, and this really helping us, take off our careers and just like build ourselves of who we are. So it's really amazing. And I think mentorships are so, so important. So I really do agree with everything you said. You just want to put yourself, you never know who you're going to meet. You want to put yourself in the right rooms, meet everyone you can. I mean, even when you're like not trying to network, you could still be networking. Like I said, I love going to dinner. Sometimes me and my friends, like my friends in law school, will just be out to dinner. We'll be, just chatting away with like random people that we've never met. And then someone's like, oh, I'm a lawyer. Like we met people from Europe that were attorneys, and, it's the legal system's different over there. So it's just interesting to
Right.
meet people and, see how things work and how things are different.
There's
So
solicitors there, right?
I
Isn't
think
that what they call
so.
them? Yeah, I think that's what they
I
call
think
themselves.
so. I have to do more and more research on that. But yeah, it's different over there. So I think that's really
You never know
cool.
who you're gonna know. And I
You
think
never
also
know.
like put yourself out there, right? Like
Yeah.
there have been so many times where I've followed somebody onto an elevator to be like, oh, that's so crazy that you do this job. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
more about it. Like I was always taught, my parents did a really great job of saying, like, go after what you want. And my parents told me really young, you know, walk into every room like you are a man that is meant to be there. And it has done great things for me as a woman because
Yeah.
I truly have lived my life in a way where I'm like, I'm going to ask for it, I'm going to get it. Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, find that distasteful quality in some women. But I've always said, that's what's gotten me raises. That's what's gotten me jobs.
Yeah.
I've done everything that people told me that I shouldn't do. I did. And it's worked out for me. So I mean,
Yeah, you have to put yourself out there. You never know what's going to happen. Most things aren't just going to be handed to you, and when good things do happen, it's because of your hard work. It's like, wow, like, how did this happen? It's because you put yourself out there and you kept pushing, and now you're here. And there's a reason that you're here. And I think we can go off of that with like imposter syndrome. At one point in law school, I was like, do I belong here? I don't even know if I belong here. Some of these people, again, everyone's super competitive, and I'm with you. I'm not like that. I want everyone to do well. And in law school, it's like you just have to do better on the test than the person sitting next to you, and you will be fine. But I want the person next to me to do good too.
Right.
Like I'm not competitive in that way. Like you said, there's enough to feed all of us. There's enough to go around. And you never know when somebody is gonna help you out or when you're gonna help someone out. And you just want to make sure you don't close those doors on yourself.
Yeah, I think I always tell people that the only person I'm competing with is the person that I was yesterday. And I truly
Yeah.
stand by that. I really just think like I never want to be a better lawyer than that other person because that means that I'm caring enough about them as a lawyer that I'm taking away any focus about me as being a lawyer, right? My thing is how can I be a better lawyer and better person than the person I was yesterday? I don't really care about anybody else in the nicest way
Yeah.
because I'm not competing with them. I want to
Yeah.
see everyone succeed. I want to see everyone do well. I will never revel at the downfall of another person, especially a woman in this field, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big thing, right? Imposter syndrome is so huge in women in this field because we are constantly told that there's one seat at the table for us, there's one spot, there's not enough of us out here. They did this thing where where law schools, started to have more women in law schools, right? But then you're looking at it, which is great, phenomenal, wonderful. But then you're looking at the numbers of lawyers who are managing partners or equity partners, and they're still grossly underrepresented in women, and they're even more grossly underrepresented in minority women. So it's like, for me, I want to make sure my community eats, and I don't want to compete. It's just not my thing. And I've met a lot of amazing lawyers that are women who have had that same notion that said, I'm not going to compete with you. That's not who I am. I want to see you succeed too. And it hurts you in no way to repost, reshare, like, comment on somebody's stuff. And that means the world to them, right? Like
Yeah.
I see attorneys that have like, I don't know, like 200 followers. And I'm like, oh, they just might be starting out. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go like 7 of their photos, right? Because for them, it took a lot to open your own firm, right? Like I don't have my own firm. I'm an associate at a firm. I can't imagine opening my own and doing all of that work. And then, having to push myself out there on social media. And maybe I'm not comfortable with it. Maybe
Yeah.
those 7 likes are the reason that they are like, well, maybe something can happen tomorrow. Maybe it will be better. You know what I mean? Like there's just so much we can do as humans and as people that takes little effort from us that can help the next person.
Yeah, I agree with that. We have to be picking each other up, not pushing each other down. So I really love that advice. And I hope our listeners love that and take that also to heart. A lot of good advice being thrown out there this episode. All right, so to go off topic a little bit for our next question, how do you disconnect from work and girl boss life to recharge? Are there particular activities, hobbies, strategies that help you stay balanced?
Yeah. So I don't sleep very much, but I would say so how I recharge is I make sure that I make my other things in life priorities as well. That like my legal career isn't my only priority in life, right? Like I love to come to New York. I come to New York all the time. I drag Lauren here with me, and I do the hot girl walk all the time, which I love. Happens in New York
Yes.
City. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Was that originated from New York
I
City?
think it was originated from Miami.
Miami?
I think it was
Okay.
Miami, and then they did different branches. So they have an LA one, a Miami one, a New York
Gotcha.
one, and I think they just did a London one.
Oh, cool. Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to look
and they're
that
doing
up.
a really great one in December for charities. If they picked like different charities from each state.
Oh,
But no, I mean, I love
amazing.
doing that. I
Yeah,
like being active. I love to spend time with my family, my friends. I also put together plus size brunches and events with another creator,
uh-huh.
Kelly Pink, and we do great stuff with that. So I mean, for me, it's like I like making my videos. I like doing the content creation. I like reaching out. I do a lot of work with small business people now, a lot of Latina small businesses. And, I like being able to talk to them. Before I showcase a business, I always say, hey, can we set up a 30-minute call or a 20-second call? And I will, and I'll get to hear their entire story about why they went into this business and how they got into it. And for me, it's like, it just like, refuels my soul because it's like sometimes working long hours as a lawyer sucks the life out of you. So when you
Yeah.
can find those other things that fill you up, and then you get to talk about being a lawyer, it's really an amazing thing. That's what helps me recharge. Like things like this, being able to, I worked all day remotely, and then I got to come here and do this podcast with you, right? And I get to talk about all these, really fun things. So for me, it's that. It's
Yeah.
like making sure you're doing things that you love. Don't make your work your entire life because it's so easy to do it. Make sure that, your family, like I have a very supportive fiance. He's great. He's always the type to be like, Heather, if you need to go to this event, go to this event. If you have to take this call from a client at 10 o'clock at night, go take that call from the client. It's just, it matters on the crowd that you keep. And then also making sure, like I said, you fill your cup outside of, your career.
Yeah, that's really important. And I definitely have to take that advice for myself too, because right now I'm working full time, but then I'm trying to find time to do things I love. And, I'm doing the podcast and I love to go see my friends and my family and just also have a second to myself. So just like balancing that, it's nice and try not to make, your career your whole life and know that there's other parts and to have, balance. And we have an episode on balance if you're interested and want to listen in. Okay, so let's see what our next question is. A few more questions and then I think we can wrap it up. How do you envision your work and mission evolving in the next 5 or 10 years? Are there any specific goals that you hope to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to get more and more into the advocacy work. Like, I'd love to be able to make more time for that. I'd love to maybe think about my legal career in terms of doing more speaking events, talking more about my experience as a lawyer, because I think law school is really great at a lot of things. But what it doesn't tell you is what it's like to be a lawyer, female lawyer in a male dominated field in any way.
Yes,
There is
preach
no
that.
there's no class that says, "Hey, this is how the men around you are going to talk to you and this is how you should handle it." And I think for me, I'd love to talk more about those experiences because I wish people had talked to me about that. I wish people had said to me, you know, don't be afraid to speak up if something is said to you that's wrong. Stand up for yourself. All these other things instead of so many people who tell you to like, hey, be quiet, make sure that you're a girl that can play along with the guys. Like I don't that's not who I am. I don't want to be the type to just brush things under the rug. And I think that I'd really love to do, do more speaking events on that, talk to more young girls in law school, let them know like, hey, you're not alone in this experience. Don't downplay any experience that you have, but also like, let me tell you ways that I handled it, and let's bring on other women and tell you how they handled it. And, there is an amazing, when you speak to lawyers who are, 50 and 60, you hear their experiences and you're like, wow, that's crazy that you guys tolerated that.
Yeah.
Cause, I just get called honey or baby and I'm like, what?
Oh no.
I'm like, no.
Oh, no.
I'm like, no, stop. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I pick up the phone and somebody be like, sweetie. And I'm like, what? And I think that's bad. But then you hear about their
Yeah.
experiences 50, 60 years ago or 30, 40 years ago, and they're much worse. So it's like you do get to see this evolution and how we've came into this male-dominated field. But I think speaking events for me is the main thing I really want to start focusing on more and more, and where I see, any advocacy work that I'm doing in the future is just talking to young Latina women, talking to young women in law, letting them know, keep pushing, keep doing what you want to do, take up space, exist loudly, do whatever you want to do, make people uncomfortable, because, you doing that is going to help the next generation of girls that are coming through.
Yeah, I love that. And I love when you said exist loudly, because as you were telling me, how it is in the field. I mean, I'm an Italian girl from Jersey. I don't know how to be quiet at all.
Right.
Like, so, I know when I should not speak, and I know when I should, keep my cool and just be like, all right, just be normal. But, we're loud. I mean,
Right.
I can hear my mom coming from a mile away, just her laugh. We're a loud family, and that's what I come from. So, it's definitely, I'm interested to see like what my experience is going to be like just coming out of law school, and to everyone that's in law school or in my position just coming out, take Heather's advice. So that's so amazing.
And you could do it with grace too. There's
Exactly.
there's so many ways that you could do it. I'm not saying be disrespectful by any means. I just say in my mind, hold your ground, stand for what you stand for, and stand for it firmly, because sometimes things are, learned behaviors, and you have to bring it to people's attention on how you want to be speak to you. People will treat you how you let them treat you. And that's true in every aspect of life, right?
Yeah, not just
Right.
legal.
Right.
Yeah.
Not just work,
Mhm.
it's a million other ways. And if you demand respect, if you say, I won't be talking to this way, and you can talk to that way, you don't have to say it in a mean way. You can say it in a nice way. You can say it in a nonchalant way, but you got to say it. You know what I mean? You have to set boundaries in everything. And if you don't set the boundaries, then people are going to walk all over you.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. To go off topic really quick, because I know we're running out of time and we're going to wrap up soon. Are you allowed to say what brands you have worked with? I'm sure our listeners might be interested. It's okay if you can't.
No,
for
so
legal
I
reasons.
I can talk about talk
Okay.
about the showcase stuff, because I don't make any money from my showcase. I
Okay.
don't charge anybody for my showcase. So I've got to work with Salud, which is a hydration like almost like Celsius, but better for you than Celsius.
Okay.
Which is like Liquid IV almost, but it's Salud. It's a Latino-owned company. I've worked with Cactus Foods, which is chips that are made out of cactus, which are supposed to be much better for you.
Ooh.
I've worked with Naked Bar Soap, which is a Latina-owned soap company. I've worked with a group of authors. There was an entire group of Latina authors that was like 45 different books that they showcased, which was really great. There's an athletic company. I can't say their name, Guerrera, I think that's what it is. They sent me like resistance bands.
Uh-huh.
I've worked with Oso Latina, which is another like small company that makes different like decals and stuff like that. Who else have I worked with? I worked with Nilla and Honey, who made the bracelets that I wear all the time. They made my assistant bracelets too. Yes, they made me special ones.
I like that.
There's another bracelet company, I think it's called Braceless. They made me these. Midnight Designs made my phone case that I carry with me all the time. I can't list them all, but there's been so many amazing
No, that's
ones.
amazing. Thank you for just sharing some of them. I'm sure as we were talking throughout this episode, listeners might be interested. So I thought I'd
go
just
look
throw
at
that
them.
out
Honestly,
there.
scroll through my series. That was the entire purpose. Is I said to myself, I want the narrative to change for Latinos, and Latinx. I want you to buy from our own community. And I want when you think of soap to not think of insert, big brand soap name. I want you to think of Naked Bar soap. When you think of hydration, I don't want you to think of a, insert big box brand name. I want you to think of Salud. I want all of these narrations to change. I want the community to realize that we can support our own community and we can do it by buying from each other. So that was the whole purpose. Is I wanted to get something from every single type of company. I'm looking for like protein bars, a Latino-owned protein bar company. I'm looking for house stuff like furniture that's Latino-owned. So if anybody knows one of those, tell them to DM me. But yeah, my series is out. There's like 31 episodes. I film twice a week for new episodes because I have constant packages coming in. There's been a lot of skincare companies. Untamed is one of them who makes magnesium creams because I have lupus and I have rheumatoid arthritis. So there's been so many amazing. I can't name them all, but go look them up.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. All right, so just to finish off, if you could leave one message for people just beginning their journey toward pursuing their passions, just one, quick sentence, what would it be?
Be authentic.
Love that. I love that. Remember that. Be authentic, be yourself, be honest, be passionate. All those things are so amazing. But thank you so much for being here today. I know I jumped around a lot this episode, but I was just so excited to have Heather here. And there were so many things I wanted to talk about. And as we were talking, I kept remembering different things. I'm like, oh, I need to bring this up. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you follow Heather on TikTok, Instagram. Are you on anything else? Or?
That's my big one. Instagram's a big one. Heather_RXOXO.
Okay, make sure you follow her. She has an amazing Instagram. That's where we first met. And make sure you follow Girls Gone Legal on Instagram, TikTok, subscribe to our YouTube and our Spotify. Until then, stay stylish, stay sharp, and stay legal. Bye, guys.